everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's awesome guest is Daniel Mirfield, who is a renowned healer and mentor. Daniel channels the power of nature to help his clients heal and recover from stress. His teachings, which can be found in his new book, Seedling, The Journey to Inner Peace, fuse ancient wisdom with modern times to help us navigate and overcome even the most challenging moments by listening to our intuition, staying grounded, and being aligned and centered, all while reacting from a place of love rather than fear. One of Daniel's biggest stress points was finding out who you are. Knowing yourself and who you really are is very important as a first step. So let's go say hello to Daniel. Hey everyone, welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluhige, health coach and personal trainer and founder of highenergygirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you encouragement or an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode. Please also join our awesome Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and I'm looking forward to see you on the inside of that group and hope you enjoy today's show. Give a woman a fish, feed her for a day. Teach a woman to fish, feed her for a lifetime. Teach a woman to fish, end world hunger. Have you ever wanted to help people improve their health journey? Have you thought about coaching people with a keto lifestyle? Would you like to become an integrative health coach? Well, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, or IIN as we call it, is the largest nutrition school in the country. And in 2011, I graduated from their program and became a health coach. It was completely awesome. We learned over 100 different dietary theories and talk about craziness and confusion. My wish for you is that we can lock arms and create a tribe of health coaches all around the country, all around the world to spread the keto message. If this resonates with you and you would like to look into this option deeper, please go to my blog at highenergygirl.com and click on the link to the right of the homepage. Here you can grab the curriculum guide and see if it inspires you. Since I care so much about my listeners, I negotiated the very best tuition rate for you at IIN. Either you can contact them directly and give them my name, or I will introduce you to a counselor so you can decide if this is a good fit for you and your career goals. Let me know how I can support you in this coaching career opportunity. Hey, Daniel, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Hi, good morning or afternoon.
So for the listeners that don't know you yet, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
I'm currently residing in New Zealand. I've travelled for probably the last 10 years around Australia. Originally from the UK. I've just finished writing my first book, a spiritual guide to inner peace. It's called Seedling, and I do mentoring for people that are struggling to get out of their own minds. So we're currently in a world where all our underlying issues are currently making their way to the top of people's foresights, and I'm looking to release those burdens and help people at least make their lives easier by lining up simple processes that can help them make daily decisions or deal with things from the past. Just a bit of guidance systems spiritually. It's all spiritually guided, so it's all internal peace as we move forward in life. We have to kind of know ourselves and know the boundaries and perspectives at which we are capable of.
So how did you find yourself in that space?
Well, my story is I've always been able to see things that aren't the normal. So our custom way of life is when we have our general routine that's set up for us. We go to school, we get a job, we get married. I've always seen life outside of that realm or outside of that reality. So I remember when I was younger, I used to sit up in my bed and I used to watch people around my room, or when I was in certain places, and animals would attract and sit by me. So I've always had this kind of natural instinct. And then for a large portion of my teens and early 20s, I blocked it out. I didn't actually. So when you're working in old philosophies and old routines and kind of like your generational, this is how life is. You learn to kind of avoid yourselves, and you learn to avoid your purpose within life. I blocked it out for those reasons because I didn't think it was normal, and now I've done a complete circle, and I've come back to it, and now for the last 10 years I've been really embracing that part of me that was there when I was younger. And I feel like I feel the journey that we are taking as mankind and human and all that lot, it is going towards more spiritual. It is more going towards inner peace, and it is going towards this kind of harmonic balances where we shouldn't just look to this structure that's been designed for us. We should look to actually build this kind of customized value as individuals and help people on a collective basis by just recognizing them and their soul.
Yeah, like I see this trend in that direction as well. All the books I'm reading right now, the underlying message that I've read seriously, like over and over, is go within. Everything I've been reading says go within. It's just serendipitous,
Yeah, absolutely, and it's much needed as well. You think about it; it's not just this generation or 2 generations. It's thousands of years of this pain that we've never been able to process thoughts, realities. We're driven into our DNA system. We have this whole complex buildup of emotions that's just blocking our actual natural abilities to be actually healthy within our decision making, our processes of how we evaluate the world, what we align ourselves with. It's quite a dramatic change, but it's a change which the frequencies of planets and the energies within the universe at the moment are accelerating. So they're actually working with us if we embrace that spiritual journey. It's a really harmonic period of time that it's a privilege to be here at the moment.
So do you feel like most people aren't even aware of all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Not 99% of the world will struggle with this process, and if you find yourself in a position where you're having these spiritual awakenings, it is a blessing beyond blessings, because they've turned around to you. And if you believe in guides or angels or any aligning spirits that follow you on your journey, they've helped you put yourself in a position of harmony and true reflection, true awareness, and of love, and kind of guiding you on this really inwards procedure of true love and balance within your life.
Mm-hmm. Do you know who Dolores Cannon is?
I don't know.
Okay, so she's passed now, but she was an educator, incredible woman. But I just heard one of her small little snippet videos, super old. She says that we are all born with a guardian angel, and they're waiting around for us to acknowledge them and to ask for their help. They won't cross our dominion or interfere with our choices, but they're there to support us. And when you finally ask, they're so excited that you're, needing them and they can do their job.
It's absolutely. It's not more. It's one of these. So when we look to nature, and we think of all the elements, the fire, water, and the 4 elements that actually guide us through life. Within nature is our family. Within nature is our 4th dimension. It's our spiritual guides. So we're living within a world, and this world within a world is the most supportive system that we've got within this lifetime, because it doesn't just help you kind of position yourself internally, it guides you physically. And people don't realize that the 4th dimension is past family members or spiritual guides that were been attached to your embodiment when you were born. So embracing your internal light and your true identity, your self-awareness, you attract frequencies, and within those spiritual guides that lady was talking about, they are ready to go. So anybody who embraces this journey, everybody wants to really acknowledge them, that they've been ready since the moment you were born. And this is a joyous thing about spiritual awakenings, even though they're very draining and tiring, there's still supportive energies there that you didn't even know that were with you the whole time. So it's very refreshing.
Mm-hmm. It's really like, I feel like it's the natural process that people have been manipulated to believe in the more physical doctrine, like, for instance, back in the day, before I was on my spiritual awakening, I was just a Bible thumping Christian, mama with my family. And, but I believe that many people believe that we are a body with a soul or a spirit rather than a spirit inhabiting a body. Could you address that?
Yeah. So with my, yes, I've always been able to predict my journey and other people that are close to my journey. But recently, my expansion or my consciousness has changed direction the way it sees the world. I've been able to see things in the future and things many years ago. And I'm just writing a blog. I've just actually released one now saying our origins. And our origins is a really interesting state within our embodiment. And our philosophy or our mindset of conditioning that we have now has limited from since that moment that we were put into a situation where we test of our true character. We have never been able to identify our true purpose within this planet. And that my vision was that there was a group of people, they were walking through, it was like a plains, it was like a valley plain, and they were hunting, and they went and got some pigs, and they had spears, and they were throwing at the pigs. And but that wasn't when you look at that point of view, you go, oh, they want to stay alive. But it wasn't actually just the actions that were aggressive. It was the way that they felt. It was the way that they thought that they were better than the pig. And when we're in our embodiment, we have to truly understand the purpose within nature. So this vision that I had, it's not always about what suits you. It's about the collective beliefs of being part of something bigger. And when you look at animals, and this is where people take a really defensive stand, if you're aggressive, if you're angry, if you're selfish, if you're emotionally charged, if you any of these principles, and then you say in this vision I had, they killed this pig. There was no gratitude for the pig. There was no respect. There was no core principles. There was no kind of underlining harmony across any of the people. It was just all conflictual, emotionally charged states. And from that moment, I kind of like, it's like the old videos where you see pictures and they're going through the screenshots and they're just flicking really quickly. I flicked all the way through to here. And from that source of the energy was the moment that we went wrong. And that moment that we went wrong is we never knew principles in the first place. And this is why this time is so special, because we are really connecting deep and really starting to understand our principles, our reason for being on this planet, and having this unique relationship, not just with ourselves, with nature, the universe, the energies around us, this place of internal gratitude, which reflects our internal light and makes people better. And we've self-sabotaged that moment all these years, so thousands of years. We've been on this path, and and this is why it's a privileged time, because there's going to be this reversal effect, and reversal effects really, really helps people evolve.
So is that the ascension cycle, or is that what you're referring to?
So I couldn't give a time on when this period was, but we know we're approaching an end of a 12,000 year cycle at the moment, where they say the earth is going to reset and stuff like this, and this is where the energies of karma have accelerated. One of my other visions the other day was when we created time, we created an era of karma, and this essential cycle with karma is one of these periods that we never should really put a time frame on something that doesn't really go against our natural grains, our natural reactions. So when you look at your clock, every time you look at a clock, you're actually stopping your life and restricting your capability to actually identify yourself. So you go, oh, it's 10 o'clock, I've got to do this, or it's 12 o'clock, I'll do this. When they didn't have time, they would just go, oh, it's time. They had no controlling basis about it. So our ascension process is that when we were free, and our free will was it all come into place with choice and our ability to kind of make decisions there and then. When we introduce time, we introduce this restrictive barrier. By reintroducing that restrictive barrier, we've introduced a karmic period. And a karmic period is now accelerating until the earth is ready to kind of rebalance or reset or kind of and start again.
Well, I have heard that Earth is ascending into a new dimension for the first time. So I don't know.
So I think with the change of plans at the moment, I think the Earth will rotate. There's been a couple of articles at scientific papers that we are going to go into if it's 100 years, 200 years, or 20 years, we don't know. The Earth is going to reset, and when it resets, it will kind of go into a new energy, a new kind of underlining message. And my goal within my visions wasn't the physical realm, wasn't the spiritual realm. It was the mental health blockages to prepare people for that next dimension. So when you go from kind of a day-to-day realm and you go to your spiritual journey, you miss all those blockages, all those emotions within your embodiment. You ignore them, and you can go from one ego to the next. You can go from one extreme to the next, but you still don't have no identity. And this gap in the middle, this is what I'm trying to fill. I'm trying to help it so people can actually process those things. And so if you go from one extreme to the next, and you have children and pass it on, you'll just pass those problems on to your children. We've got to create this generational kind of DNA where we're just passing on our problems.
Right. And is that what your book Seedling's about?
It's about being at peace in your own mind. And when we're at peace in our own mind, we need to kind of understand our journey, from the moment that we were created, to the kind of like the attitude that we have, to the conditioning, to the restrictive barriers, to the kind of ideologies and terminology that are embedded in our personality before we can even talk. So it's really interesting when you look back and you think your life is already planned out for you, and you hadn't even made any decisions yet. You know, that's how controlling our reality is at the moment. So it's a really kind of, and then when people are faced with this a highly deeply emotion kind of atmosphere within their kind of chamber of their mind, that it's easier for them to go into this extreme spiritual journey than actually face these emotional barriers. And when you go into the extreme spiritual journey, you're neglecting your embodiment. You're neglecting your actual purpose within this lifetime, and our purpose within this lifetime is embracing our embodiment. So we've kind of got to stop this trend and kind of allow people to heal, embrace their embodiment, and then take this spiritual journey and let them ascend that way, instead of going from one negative to one kind of really kind of as far away as possible, running for the hills kind of situation.
So what's the first step?
Well, when we look at everybody's position is different. So first step is always looking at the person as an individual. So when we look to nature, the balancing requirements of nature, there was not one element or one energy that's equal. So when we look at someone who's gone through, and we've got to mention spiritual awakenings, they are really tiring. They are so draining that you if you're not used to that kind of energy, it can send you on just as much as a negative spiral than it can on a positive one, because you're going up and down, and you're really struggling. So we've got to look at people's identity. We've got to look at their stories. We've got to look at their unique characteristics, because within their mind, within their story, There's nobody will ever know what they've been through. There's nobody what will know their story, how they how they felt, what they reacted. If you had an event where an event happened and 4 people were watching it, you might go, oh, logically, this happens, they all affect the same. But each individual person sees it differently. They have their unique perspective on it, and they have their unique kind of personality trait from knowledge and wisdom which they've obtained, and how they read that situation. So when we look at people, we start from the beginning. We look at the balancing principles of nature. We kind of implement that into their life. And then we look at how they're using their feelings and emotions. And the difference between feelings and emotions is a critical part to knowing who you are.
Okay. And is that just limited to their earthly experience at this moment, or is this a compound effect of things that have happened prior to?
Well, within our embodiment, when we are born, there's 3 main energies that influence us. There's our family DNA, and that could be thousands of years old. So we can talk about anything from a DNA gene that makes you overweight, or has a certain ideology, or certain restrictive barriers within your health. And then you've also got the status of your parents when you were created. So if they were struggling with life, and when you were created, that is also passed on. So it is a spiral effect that if you're not in a certain place, you're just passing on your problems from generation to generation. So the status of your parents, and when we look at healing and we look at our parents, we always look to the source, and the source can release that burden. So if your parents are truthful about the state of their mind when you were created, they can also release that burden, because it's the truth, and the truth sets you free. It's the truth is the source of the moment. So we've got a family DNA, which is a network in itself. 2 families coming together, 2 lives, and then it goes back generations. Then we've got our past lives and our soul's contract. So our past lives and soul's contract are really relevant to this time because of the accelerated energy within the universe or the cosmos at the moment. It determines how we come into this life. And if we've learned lessons from past lives, or we haven't learned lessons from past lives, it determines what type of body we come into, what kind of journey we're expected. Because within the which is the astrology is made up of it. Everything that's happened in the past affects us today. So we know what we're going into. We just need to know what lessons we need to learn as we go through this lifetime. And when we kind of go this spiritual journey, you're here to learn set lessons. So you need to kind of really digest what you're here to learn, find that harmony, and then follow that path. And when you follow that path, it's the most aligning value that you can have, because it is what your soul is begging for. So we've got our soul's contract, and then the astrology. So the moment, the stamp, the energetical stamp of the stars when we were born, and that can form our personality. It can form the type of influence energies, the events that we put ourselves in, the positions that either hold power or enlighten us. So we're mixed with this 3 kind of, there's more than 3, but the 3 main ones are the universe, the past lives and soul's contract, and our family DNA. And I've completely forgotten your question. I'm sorry. What was your question?
Actually answered it already, because I was wondering if it was just your embodiment now, like currently, or if it also has to do with past lives, and if that all was, a compound or a compilation of what you're experiencing now. But then I have another question that you brought up is our purpose, right? Like our lessons that we came here to experience or learn right now. How do we find out what those are?
Well, when you find peace, you align yourselves, and then you welcome these. The journey's never meant to be done alone. So when we have this attitude that we're here and we can be independent, stuff like that. It's about surrounding yourself with a community, or surrounding and welcoming the spirits, and just being at peace. Because when you're at peace and when the energy is right, you make decisions that that are the most harmonized direction for you to follow. So if you're making decisions at the moment, and this is one thing about when you manifest situations, if you know that you're not in the right place, never try to manifest long term, because until you get back on that right path, that you don't really know the trajectory of your life, and you don't really know why you're kind of what really truly aligns with your vibrational kind of purpose. So when the first direction is finding peace, finding an identity, finding relationships that are respectful across both parties, finding the overall principles within nature. And then once you've got this true identity, the paths will open. So we never force it. We find ourselves first, and then we move in a direction that really is identified from within. And we will never know that until we know ourselves. And our guides can kind of keep pushing us back on track. But if we keep fighting against them and go, no, I want to go to this materialistic world, and I want to do this, our guides will just continue to try pushing us back on track. And when it's until we identify ourselves, that is when we know our true journey. And it might be working with animals, it might be in science, it might be in nature, it might be something as simple as just having a family and enjoying being around love. It's something. It's always so simple.
What was your personal biggest catalyst to get you into this space again?
Well, for me, the system makes you weak. You have to be weak to be part of the system. So the system that we have, if you have any empowerment, you know the truth. And when I was in Australia and I was working and I had my own company, and I was trying to do the right thing by the system, but all I end up doing is fighting against who I was. And the system broke me because I'm so sensitive to energies and situations that it put me in positions that were just unnatural and uncomfortable to me. And I felt I was working against my own kind of intuitive direction. And it was a mixture of the materialistic wealth, trying to gain kind of wealth and status, and neglecting myself, all coming into one bubble. And then when that kind of I love nature, and every time I went to nature, I was able to be myself. But then when I go back into the city environment, it just broke my heart every time. It was a really kind of, it was almost like I had to be somebody else the whole time, every day, every second. And that's the thing. We should never try to be someone else. Our purpose is to identify who we are. And the system broke me in a way that it made me be someone else, and made me be this person that was trying to get all these success and all this lot. And there's no need to be someone else when you can be yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that honestly, that cities are designed for that purpose. I think that keeping us away from nature and in too much noise, there's so much noise in a city. And I don't mean just audible noise. I mean, just the energy noise. I feel like it's a disconnection. So where I live right next to a mountain, and I go there almost every day just to go and connect with the birds and the cows and the trees and the flowers. And, everywhere around me is nature, but I really do feel that that's the purpose of the cities. There's plenty of land and space across our world for people to inhabit. They don't all need to be clustered in a dirty environment,
Absolutely, and I am on the same page as you with nature. I would quite happily walk around all day just watching the natural elements, watching the birds and the animals, and it's a home. It's a place, because when it's a place that you can actually know that there's nothing there that's got alternative motives or agendas or situations that will try and push you. And the one thing about nature, which the cities are complete opposite, is the exchange of energy. So within nature, we can actually not just grounding, but we enlighten ourselves. Every lesson that we need in life is within the planes of nature. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm working out to do this, even if it's logic or internal growth, the lessons that you need are always there. They're in plain sight. You just have to open yourself to them. And opening yourself up is one energy that you don't get in the city. So when our life, everything that we know is about the exchange of energy. And the exchange of energy is depending on your empowerment, your aura, what you welcome in and what you kind of disregard. And within the cities, there's no empowerment and there's no aura. It is a constant attack on people's status, their personal kind of mind warfare or philosophy warfare on how life should be and stuff like that. So when you kind of when you're working out the internal growth of yourself, you have to look at spaces. And if at the world at the moment, the economy runs the world. The economy, so everything is money driven. Everything is a materialistic kind of reality. So if you are driven by this picture, which I was within my old job when I was electrician, you merge critical parts of your life to this materialistic world. You merge your eating, your exercise, your socializing, your downtime, your sleep, all comes under the umbrella of work. And one of the first steps of self-identification is understanding when you go into a space and when you leave a space. If you're under that umbrella of work constantly, you have no self-care or love outside of that theme. So, and that is one situation where it takes away your power. So the disempowerment is keeping someone in a state of in a closed state of their mind. So how do you free someone? Is you create spaces. You start these boundaries, and then you know internally that even if you don't say it, you'll start putting up boundaries for energies that are unhealthy to you. And that's what one of the atmospheres that the city brings to people's mindsets. They close it off, they restrict it, and they create a conditioned reality within that zone.
Mm-hmm. So, do you believe that we are at a point in our world that, well, I've heard the term Great Awakening, where people are just waking up by the masses, and we're going into the ascension cycle so that the earth is moving into a higher density or higher dimension, whichever you prefer. And that whether we want it or not, the energies are coming to everyone here on the planet. And some people are going to respond and be open, and others are just not even going to know what to do with themselves. Is that something that you're familiar with?
I can only speak on what I've seen and what I've felt. And when we go into this Great Awakening, normally when somebody goes into a state of, a kind of awakening or a spiritual enlightenment, they would normally hit rock bottom. So when someone hits rock bottom, that's when they question their life. So if you can go into this autopilot philosophy where things are fine, I won't change it, I won't question it, I'll just carry on to go in this direction because it seems to be working for me. But until things hit rock bottom, that's when you question your life. And within the pandemic, there's a lot of people that hit rock bottom, or they're about to hit rock bottom, even if it was from the ideologies that they had then or the ideologies that they have now. their world is going to be turned upside down. And when you hit rock bottom, everything that you've ignored, every conditioning that you've ever been subject to, comes to the surface. So when everything comes to the surface, you have to, it's like this knee-jerk reaction. You have to make change straight away. And this change is what they associate with the karmic period when we created time. So this ascension period, from now until the new era or the new world starts, it is purely about the warfare within your ideologies, the mindset that you have. So the last couple of years have forced people to hit rock bottom, to go through a realization stages of their actions, their thoughts, the directions, their opinions, the terminologies, the actual lessons that they've been taught, to the people they surround themselves with. And it's not necessarily a direction that we can ascend straight away and go off. Like I said previously, we have to embrace our embodiment. So if you go, right, I'm going to ascend and go to a high level of consciousness and I'm going to float away, that's not what life's about. Life's about embracing yourself in a physical form. It's about being healthy. It's about being comfortable with who you are, placing yourself in positions of empowerment, and surrounding yourself with a community that supports everyone as an individual. So we should never look because with our soul and with our memories from our past lives, the ascension period or the spiritual realms are more natural than our embodiment. Mm-hmm. So we have that all the time, every time, but we embrace this journey for our physical gifts and for our journey within our embodiment. So we shouldn't look directly to ascend ourselves into a place which we're across dimensions. We need to look inwards to truly know who we are, and then we can process on that journey. We can welcome gifts in. We can expand our consciousness. We only use 10% of our brains, and that is 100% logic. That 10% is pretty much all divine by logic. When we embrace our embodiment, embrace our identity, embrace our purpose within this thingy, we start accessing parts of our brain and opens a whole new world to where we are. We can't, like I say, within the fourth dimension, when you walk in with nature, there's a world within a world, and it's the most supportive dimension that we've got. But by using that fourth dimension, we have to embrace our embodiment. We should never look to remove ourselves to avoid the world. It all starts with who we are. And sorry.
No, go ahead.
This period of time is about our mental status. It's about embracing everything that we are, who we are, and being happy with the journey that we've got. So ascension stage to me, higher consciousness and stuff like that, it doesn't mean anything if you don't know who you are.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I'm hearing is that it's not that we're leaving to go somewhere for ascension. Ascension's happening here with us now. It's not like we're leaving. It's just arriving for us here and now as the earth is also ascending. So that's what I mean by that. Okay, before I run out of time, or we run out of time, let's touch on your book. So can you lay us out the process on how the book will guide us to identify who we are, our purpose, and all of that?
It's a channeled text. So this is direct from my guides. So for me, channeling it was easy. I have several different avenues and ways of receiving the information. So I could be hearing it, I could be seeing it in a vision. I could go into a meditation state and see a story. Like there's several different outlays. The actual within the book, the tyrant bit was actually getting the message right, and the critical part is getting the message right. The message that you receive is never wrong. It's how you translate that message into the book. And for me, it was a journey to find who I was again within myself. And within this book, it's made for the individual. So if you're in a certain stage where you're not truly gone through a kind of an awakening yet, and you read this book and you read, if you're not in the right place, it'll make you tiring because you're reading it and you're not actually letting the information flow through you. So, and that's one part of our journey. We have to, at all stages within our life, we should never let energy stop, just continuously flow. So within the book, there's 13 chapters, but the middle 11 chapters, they are divinely linked to the individual who reads the book. And we have feelings and emotions, we have balancing, we have relationship with nature, core principles, triggers and egos, leadership and economy, empowerment. There's a few of it anyway, and it's a kind of, it breaks down parts of your life which you can implement and really align yourself with your actions, your thoughts, and how you put yourself in positions. So if you, for example, we'll start with feelings and emotions. Feelings and emotions means the community at the moment has been emotionally charged, and it's been emotionally charged for thousands of years. So how do you break the barrier of making decisions that are emotionally charged to actually using your feelings and your gifts? Well, your feelings are, you see, you smell, you hear, you touch. Those are our gifts. But if we're using those gifts to fill an addictive state, how do we separate that barrier? And I kind of digest the way that, with emotions, they're there. You can't control emotions, but they're there to experience. So you go to a celebration, a wedding, someone kind of like a birthday party and stuff like that. You're there to be part of someone else's experience. You're not there to emotionally charge your reaction, so you're triggered, or your ego, or you kind of like, oh, I smell something, so I must eat junk food, or I see something on a TV, then I must go out and buy it. So instead of using your feelings to create this emotionally charged state or this addictive reaction, you're using them for their purpose. And I kind of go through the book, and through every layer we talk about energy, the transfer of energy, and how a simple conversation between you and I can disempower you or can empower you so you make the correct decisions. And then we talk about the meditational state. So the meditational state, it's not being in that position, it's knowing your every action before you go into the meditational state. So a meditational state is about the ability to let go, to ability to be. It's a point of separation. So you ground your body and you let your mind go. You see the world from a different perspective. But I have a pre-meditational state where I learn. I go through my day and I learn about all the interactions, the conversations, the positions I put myself in, and I clear that logic. I'm aware of my actions and I bring my attention to it. So when I'm going into a closed off meditation state, I'm not self-sabotaging the way that I react or the way that I close down my mind to ignore my actions. So people have a busy day and then they go, oh, I'll just go into meditational state. You never go into a meditative state to avoid, and the avoidance, you don't have to avoid life to go into a meditational state. You're already doing it. So you need to bring your awareness to everything that you do during that day, every exchange of energy, every kind of interaction, and then go into a meditational state. There's two different realities: logic and like a higher consciousness. So I go through the book, and egos and triggers are a big one. Empowerment within our aura. So within our aura, there's we build this through self-awareness. So when we have the exchange of energy, we welcome. So if you go for a particular type of person within your kind of relationship-based profile, all you're doing is you're putting up a beacon and you're trying to attract someone, but you don't know what you're trying to attract, and you're just emotionally charged, and you're trying to search for something to get to avoid yourself. So you end up attracting the same person over and over again. Whereas within your empowerment, within your aura, when you where you truly know your identity, you attract energies that align with you. And most of the time, it's people that you never knew that you would even associate with, because you're so used to trying to fit a narrative within your world. So it's a bit of a it's a very deep book. And
that's so funny. You just read my mind. I was like, this is deep.
And I'm trying to break the barrier between going from awakening to avoidance within the spiritual community. I'm trying to really kind of let people know there's an avenue to heal and be the best part of yourself.
Well, it's really deep, Daniel. I mean, I feel like maybe once I dig into the book, it will be more bite-sized nuggets so you can process the flow really simply. But just listening to it, it's exciting, because I feel like when you get out to the other side, you're going to see things differently. Does that sound right?
Well, it brings your attention to who you are. So you'll definitely see the will differently, because you'll start being accountable and respectful for your actions, and that's one of the first steps. We all have to hold ourselves accountable. Rules and regulations are actually made there to target people, but there's nobody going to hold themselves accountable. So within our journey, within our kind of seeing the world around us, we have to kind of know what's driving our actions, our thoughts, our realities. And that stage where you can read something within the book, it might be just a line, and that's what I'm saying. It's a channel text, so it is very. There might be one sentence that just changes everything, because it's relevant to your story and it's relevant to that situation at the time. And the good thing about it is I can go back. I actually reread the book within my own space without being a channel text. And it is just nice to be in that zone, that space, and kind of it's a grounding healing as well. You know, it kind of brings you back to the busy life, and kind of put that to one side and just concentrate on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I know what you mean though about changing the way you respond and do things. Like, for instance, there was a bug, like a big old black beetle in my hallway underneath my shoe. And normally, like before I started awakening, I would just smash it with my shoe. But no, I had to go and find a dustpan and scoop that little guy out and take it outside and say, this is where you belong. You know, it's that whole circle of life that you just are like, okay, even like my plants, I have a whole new respect for my plants. And now, like, I have a plant that looks like it's dying, and normally I just throw it away. But now I'm like, okay, nope, I got to figure out a way to give this new life and, you know, make it, I don't know. It's like this whole new way you look at things, you know?
And I actually, that's beautiful, because I actually think that mindset is what because you're kind of educating yourself as you go along. You know, you're kind of really challenging yourself to do the right thing, and when you challenge yourself, you also broaden your knowledge, and you kind of you surround yourself with a collective expansion consciousness. Like, and when we're talking about kids, and you have that philosophy, and you kind of say, well, you don't create this materialistic kind of throw it away, buy something else, throw it. You're actually teaching them the simple principles that people can just appreciate what they have, and that little kind of like you're part of something, and you and the mindset means that they can think about their actions, and before they disregard something, or you know, you surround yourself with friends. It doesn't have to be kids, it can be anyone. You're creating people to expand their knowledge and be the best part of themselves, and it's such a blessing, because you can sit there afterwards and you can kind of you've got no alternative motive. There's no agenda profile to it. It is all because you wanted to do the right thing. And when you teach that across all generations and stuff like that, you there's a healing process in that, by just allowing people to have that little bit of knowledge, that little bit of gratitude and respect for the world that they live in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything's alive. I mean, it's crazy when you realize the whole thing about vibrationary beings, even like the rocks, everything has a frequency and is all alive. And it's crazy because most people, even myself, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I wasn't aware of that. So it's just learning and applying your knowledge each day so that you can open yourself up for new knowledge. Yep. Or a new remembering of the knowledge.
well, you're growing as a person, and that's part of you might be part of your soul's contract, this continuous because so when we look at our embodiment and the frequencies that you're just talking about, we are always adjusting our frequency within the logical realm. Summer, we can go on holiday. Winter, it's cold, we stay inside, and then we just repeat this year in, year out. Whereas there is not one year or season that's the same. So our body naturally adjusts to the frequencies and what's relevant at that time. It's kind of like this guidance system that we kind of take for advantage. But as the acceleration of the earth happens now, we have to learn to adjust with the acceleration of the frequencies. So the planet's going to start waking up. There's going to be a change. And if you don't keep up, you'll get lost behind within your mind space, and that mind space is a critical part to how you balance your life. Balancing your frequencies and aligning yourself is something that we will have to start bringing our attention to. We've taken it for granted for now, but it was going to get to a stage where we are deliberately going to have to place ourselves in situations that don't neglect our purpose. And those frequencies are going to change, and are going to change rapidly. And it's something that we need to bring our attention to.
Mm-hmm. Most people are completely unaware. I happen to be, a lot of my time, I volunteer for this humanitarian organization that's international. And so I'm surrounded by very advanced spiritual people all over the world. And I'm like one of the main volunteers. So I mean, we meet regularly, so I'm constantly learning from them and growing, and it's incredible. So, I mean, we know we are expecting some changes on our planet very, very soon. And that's what's exciting. And we are going to be the ones who help the others transition, I feel.
Yeah. Well, the clock of time is ticking. And the message that you should have, that it's not your place to here to change anyone. Like when someone's healing, it's up to them and their position. But when someone enters that stage of awakening and they want to be part of something, that's when you can open a space for them to, and as the collective, to come in and ascend. So within that barriers, you can't change everyone, and it's not your place to change, or it's not anyone's place to change anyone. They are an individual. There's not right. It's not one size fits all. It is, and the ones that are meant to be part of your life will soon be knocking on your door without you even know it, because we're all aligning to this collective frequency, and as it accelerates, you'll find that the gap between two realities will become obvious, and people won't be able to get close to that gap because they've neglected themselves for too long. So
yeah. And it's exciting times, I'll tell you. They said, I heard Dr. Christian Northrup say that the fact that you are here on this earth right now is as rare as a hair on an ox. So I guess a lot of spirits wanted to be here right now, and we are the ones who are here. So we obviously have a big job to do.
It's a massive job, and the only way you start is by knowing who you are.
Yeah. And so, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, carry on. It's all right.
Oh, I was just going to say, speaking of learning who we are, how do we find your book?
Oh, if you go, my website's sagesjourney.com. There's a link on there that goes to Amazon, or you can just go to Seedling, The Journey to Inner Peace on Amazon.
Okay. And what about finding you on social? I bet you have some pretty amazing posts.
Well, I've actually come out of the blue. I had social 10 years ago, and I actually went off it because it was doing more harm than good to everything within my world. And I've only come on it this year. So I'm very fresh. I've got Instagram, A Sage's Journey, and I've got my website. I do mentoring and stuff on the website as well. So if you're looking for a bit of guidance, I'm happy to help out. But I'm only on Instagram on my website.
Okay, awesome. You know where it's a really good place to be is Telegram. I got kicked off of blocked on YouTube and Facebook so many times that Telegram is like a safe place that you can post whatever you want, and there's hardly any censorship. So you might want to check that out as another alternative someday.
Yeah.
Rumble too is better than YouTube because they don't censor. Like, I can't tell you how many of my podcasts they said, "Oh, this has controversial blah blah blah." I'm just like, whatever.
And that's one theme that's going to you only have to look at the energy of the karmic period, and I believe in a couple of years' time that'll be completely different to how they kind of created that narrative in the first place. So all you've got to say to yourself, it's time, and then the karma will sort itself out, so
Cool. Well, I look forward to that for sure. Well, you are amazing. I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. You're just, can't wait to read your book.
Thank you for sharing this space with me.
Okay, now that was deep. I think that deserves a second listen in order to absorb all the juicy details. Daniel seems like a true sage, and I find that those people have a hard way of communicating, or we have a hard way of comprehending in the English language, because they are just so esoteric and amazing. I really hope you enjoyed the interview. If you haven't done so already, we appreciate all your reviews. Please head on over to iTunes and give us a rating and review. And if you know somebody who would make a fabulous guest, please send them my way at tracy@highenergygirl.com. Thank you so much. Make it a great day. Bye now. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion, and I could be wrong.